why does my back hurt if I keep fit? This is a common question that I get asked. I work with a lot of people on a daily basis who are wanting to keep fit, but what they tend to find is that their back hurts. Or if they come into exercise and they're wanting to get fitter, they want to take their fitness to the next level, but before they get there, their back starts to hurt. So they come to me with the question, why is my back hurting if I keep fit, and how can I overcome it? Well, one of the things I have to understand is what they're doing, because there's many different components as to why your back could hurt, and we've got to try and figure out what that is. So when it comes to training, we've got 2 points. We've got training is too intense and training is repetitive. Then when it comes to the people, so the people doing it, what we have to understand is what type of exercise are they doing? Are they training muscles and not movements? How much are they training? So people tend to train too much. What technique are they using? People tend to use poor technique. People don't prepare well enough, so people aren't coming into the gym and preparing their body for what's about to happen to it. And then people are going from one extreme to another. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's one of these things. It could be a combination of these things. And as we mould and adapt what we're doing, we're then able to relieve the pain and overcome the problem to then take the fitness up to the next level. So if we start with training is too intense. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to do low intensity training. But what it does mean is that if you're going to the gym 3 times a week or 4 times a week, then you might want to change the different intensities that you use. So on day 1, you might use like a medium to high intensity. On day 2, you might use a high intensity. Then on day 3, you might use a medium to low intensity. And then day 4, you go back up to a medium to high intensity. So your body's not under stress the whole time. Then we come on to training is repetitive. If we're training the same exercises or the same parts of the body in the same way, that's going to increase wear and tear on the body. Both of these will increase wear and tear on the body. If we're not recovering well enough, if we're not allowing the body to repair itself well enough, we're always going to be in a kind of deficit. And that's something that we've got to manage with the training that we do. So we've got to be able to manage what the training is and how we're doing it. So we've got to be able to change movements. We've got to be able to change intensities to be able to allow our body to become that much more adaptable to the training that we're doing. Then what we do is we come on to the people. So one of the things I will ask is, what type of exercises are you doing? So are you training muscles? Are you doing lateral raises? Are you doing leg extensions, bicep curls, tricep extensions? Are you working single joint, or are you using single joint exercises? Because if you are, it might be more effective to start using more movements, because movements tend to be more transferable into everyday life. So just by keeping fit, you're putting a stress on your body. That increases wear and tear, which increases risk of injury. Not only when you're in the gym, but also when you're out of the gym, around everyday life. Because you're fatiguing the muscles in the gym, but you've then got everyday life to go and do. So what we're really looking for is a training that builds a foundation. It builds the fundamentals of the body being able to last longer throughout the 24 hours that are in the day. What we've then got is people train too much. Again, something common that I see is when people train, they want to train hard, they want to feel exhausted, they want to be fatigued, they want that satisfaction of completing an exercise session. Now, this is all well and good, but as I've just mentioned, if we don't allow the body to rebuild and repair, and if we don't build a solid foundation for you to be able to do that, then that is going to be short-lived. You're going to get bad backs, bad shoulders, bad knees, bad hips, whatever it might be, and then you're going to be not being able to do that for even longer. So if we can build that solid foundation to allow you to train at that intensity, if we can put in place the right recovery and the right exercise dosage, if you will, we can allow you to train that way for longer. And that's what it's all about with regards to everything that Christopher Holt training is about. It's about giving you what you need, not always what you want. And if you need a stronger foundation, then that's what we've got to give you. We would then look at technique. So how are you lifting? How are you pressing? How are you pulling? What position is your spine in? What position are your knees in when you squat? And things like that. Because we've got to be able to get the technique right, because again, if we use poor technique, that's increasing pressure on the joint, which is increasing stress on the joint, which is increasing wear and tear on the joint, which is increasing your risk of injury overall. So as we start to add these together, you can start to see that it might be 2 or 3 of these that you need to be working on in order to, again, lift that foundation, start building and focusing on the fundamentals a little bit more, and then bringing in the high intense training that you'll be doing. Because again, if you're training at high intensity, you're more likely to use poor technique because you're not focusing on the technique, you're focusing on the intensity. People don't prepare well enough. Again, when people go in, they want to get on with it. So if they're short on time, what's the first thing that's going to go? It's going to be the warm-up, the preparation, the stretching, before and after the workout, because they want to get in a full hour and do as much as they can in that time. What they don't want to be doing, and I train with people like this, they want to get on with it. They don't want to be doing the stretching. They want to just get on with the exercise that they are there to do. People go from one extreme to another. Now, when people go from one extreme to another, they are, again, if you started swimming, you wouldn't start swimming and just jump straight in the deep end and hope to, do a full length of the pool. What you would do is you would learn the basics. You would start at the shallow end of the pool with training aids, and then you would progress further into the deeper ends of the pool. Now, as I've mentioned, high intense training is the deep end of the pool. Now, if you're going straight into the deep end of the pool without the foundation, then you're leaving yourself open to increased risk of injury. Again, most people will train in the morning. They've just been asleep. They've been stationary in the most relaxed state for 8 hours. Or they're training in the evening where they've been at work for 8 hours, where there's a good chance they've been sat down for 8 hours. So again, their body isn't in a great state to then be doing high intense training, or even medium to high intense training. What you've got to be able to do is prepare the body with the robustness and the resilience to be able to cope with these high intensities. And if we aren't preparing well enough, going straight from one extreme to the other, from lead down or sat down into training, using poor technique and doing that a lot, we're then going to be increasing our risk of injury. And that's something that we've got to manage. So it's always my advice to find a program that builds the foundation, that builds the fundamentals in place, so it gives you a greater chance to be able to do this. Now, this doesn't mean stopping what you're doing, but it does mean bringing in certain techniques, certain workouts that build towards a stronger back, so more flexible hips, stronger core strength and stability, stronger hips, all those types of things that are there to build that foundation. Improving your movement, so improving your lifting technique, improving your pressing technique, so on and so forth. All these different things add up to a greater or a decreased risk of injury. So hopefully that's been helpful. Hopefully it's given you some ideas of where you need to look and things you need to think about with regards to your training. So I'll speak to you in the next tutorial.